Okay, members, we're going to start now. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Welcome everyone to this evening's Conwy Harbour Committee. Also in attendance tonight are committee members and officers. For those of you on Zoom, all microphones will be muted unless you indicate your wish to speak. You can use the little raised hand function or alternatively raise your hand, at which point I will call out your name and wait for your turn on the microphone. For those of you in the council chamber, please indicate if you wish to speak by raising your hand and then turn on your microphone. It will turn red and it is the bottom button. I expect everyone present and participating in this meeting to conduct themselves appropriately and be respectful to each other. That applies to members, officers this evening. Can I also remind members that this meeting is being live streamed? So the first item on the agenda is the appointment of chair. Do I have any nominations?
Could I nominate Joan Vaughan, please?
Yeah, is that, do we have a seconder? That's
I'll second.
Lovely, thank you. Anyone else? No, all those in favour? Okay, thank you. If Councillor Joan Vaughan wants to come up.
Thank you very much, members. You know, yep, it must be, I will admit, this is my 19th year as chair. So, you know, let's make it 20, okay? I'll be here next year, promise. Okay, the next agenda item is appointment of vice chair. Yes, Councillor Chan. Microphone. I think we can hear you anyway.
Yeah, I nominate Bryn, but...
Councillor Shan has nominated Bryn Hughes.
I'd like to nominate Bryn Hughes.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded. Thank you. Vice Chair Ghost. Show of hands, please. Thank you. Sorry, Bryn, I didn't ask you if you accepted the number, but you do, of course you do, of course you do. I wouldn't let you say no. Apologies for absence, please.
I've received an apology from Councillor Sue Shotter. Any others?
I thought Sue was with us.
Oh, no. Oh, sorry, Sue.
Yeah, we can see you waving, Sue. No other apologies. Right, declarations of interest. Members are reminded they must declare the existence and nature of a declared personal interest. Any urgent matters?
None, Chair.
None. Can we go straight to the minutes? Pages 3 to 6. Page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. Are there any questions on the minutes? So, can I approve the minutes are a correct record of the previous meeting? Can I have a seconder, please? Oh, lots of seconders. Show of hands, please. Thank you. Right, we'll go straight to consider a report from the Principal Harbour and Maritime Officer on the following matter. Update report on the Conwy Harbour operations. We also have Matt on Zoom and we have Blethyn here with us, just in case we want to give him a hard time. Over to you, Matt.
Great, thanks, Chair. My apologies, I'm not there in person. I'm on a vessel in Portsmouth with this transformer offloading at the minute, which delayed. So if I do lose a signal wherever, Blethyn will run with the report, depending how far I get. But hopefully technology will permit me to carry on. So the first item in my report was the inspection by Trinity House. We're subject to an annual inspection each year under the Merchant Shipping Act, just to verify that all our aids to navigation are in good order. I'm pleased to report that they did find them in good and efficient order. And so that's us for another year. We've started the annual servicing program and we'll continue with that as the weather conditions permit. The Wild Oyster Project. So this project has been 4 years in the making. It's basically run between the Zoological Society of London and Bangor University and some other stakeholders. And the idea really is to lay a reef, an artificial reef, out in the Conwy Bay, with the idea of reseeding the Conwy estuary and Conwy Harbour with native oysters, which were here sort of hundreds of years ago. So we were subcontracted to help with the bagging and loading operation. It was a lot more difficult involved than we thought, but we got it done. So the reef has now been laid. The next stage is to lay shell, which is they're called culch, which is crushed shellfish shells, on top of the reef, and then introduce the oysters hopefully in mid-July, which we'll do. And the oysters are presently in the Conwy Marina in a nursery there. Quite an exciting project. Personal watercraft. So it's not the first time that I'll sort of mention jet skis in this report. Members will be aware that we have had lots of issues with them over the years, reckless and dangerous behaviour. The problem was there was a court case a number of years ago which decided that a jet ski wasn't a vessel in terms of the Merchant Shipping Act. That meant that harbour authorities around the UK and port authorities couldn't bring any prosecutions. This was an anomaly. Industry has campaigned for a change in the law. It finally happened, and a new amendment came in on the 31st of March, which basically means that local authorities like ourselves can now prosecute jet skiers when we believe that beyond a reasonable doubt they've engaged in reckless behaviour. There was an incident just after the law changed in Gwynedd where someone was seriously injured. And my understanding is that they are going to be one of the first authorities to bring a prosecution. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on, what standard of proof, which should be beyond reasonable doubt, but what the courts expect. And I'll update members in due course once that comes to conclusion. Excuse me. Harbour reserves. I'm unsure where this stands at the minute, but since the last meeting, I was advised that the authority was looking to remove the reserves from all departments which hold a reserve. Obviously, not every department does have a reserve or needs a reserve. We hold a reserve and have done since I commenced 11 years ago, and we've been gradually growing the reserve because, as members will be aware, our day-to-day operations have substantially changed from when I started. We now do all our own maintenance. We operate our own mooring vessel, and if that mooring vessel crane ever breaks, and which it will eventually, no matter how much we maintain it, it needs to be replaced. Now, the replacement cost without labour would be approximately £80,000. And that's something we would need to order through the procurement process straight away, because without that crane, we can't do any maintenance work at all and respond to any emergencies. And so it's imperative that we have a reserve which can fund that. And at the minute, we do have a reserve which can fund it. And also pontoons. The pontoon system is aging. And if a pontoon breaks its back, like it did last winter, you know, we need to replace it immediately, and that's £20,000. So these are big items which we can't fund from our revenue budget. So that's the reason we have a reserve. So I pointed all this out many times, and there's another point as well, is that the way our reserves have been raised is through harbour charges. Now, under the Harbours Act 1964, we can only set charges which are reasonable, and it's arguable if those charges are then used to fund a reserve and that reserve is taken away, well, the charges weren't reasonable in the first place because they weren't required. So I think it is a little bit of a legality that needs to be checked here before this money's taken from us, if it indeed is. And I would ask members to support the fact that we keep our reserve, because it's good industry practice, and it's money that harbour users are paid in for the maintenance of the harbour and to keep everything going, including, you know, the marina people with the harbour queues and keeping the Boyd Channel open. And we'd be at risk as well of not being able to fulfil our statutory functions. For example, the Trinity House inspections, if we can't go out and service the buoys, if one comes off station. So members will get the idea. That's something I feel quite strongly about. Excuse me. So general, we're going to be replacing 2 of the pontoons in the next month. We've had them being constructed in the nick of time because 2 of them have broken the backs. And finally, we have been awarded a maintenance contract again for Anglesey Council for the service in the marks in the Eastern Middle Strait. So we have started that work, and again, it's all revenue which comes in and helps keep the charges down for harbour users at Conwy. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Matt. So do we have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, last time we had a meeting, Matt, we talked about the shoreside facilities for the harbour users now that the cruising club's gone, and you said you're going to approach people about funding for it. So I was wondering whether there's been any progress on that.
I have raised the matter again, and there hasn't been any progress. I'm sorry, Steve. I wish there was, but I have raised it again. It seems to me logical that if the toilet facilities on the quay are being upgraded, that it wouldn't be a big stretch and a massive financial burden to add a shower cubicle on the side. You know, so I have raised it, and I feel that's something that would be a benefit to the harbour, particularly now the cruising club is closed and we don't have any facilities.
Yeah.
Have they said that we definitely can't have it, or are they sort of thinking about it?
My understanding is it's being considered. How likely it is, I can't say. It's not my decision.
I can maybe say something. We saw plans of new toilets to be situated on the quay. Lovely. And there were some shower. There was a shower. I suppose you'd call it a cubicle or something in the drawings. That all depended on the sale of the Civic Hall. The 2 were linked. So if we don't get plans passed and the Civic Hall doesn't happen, apparently those toilets don't happen. So we're some time off both. But I think what Matt said, I'm sure the county councillors would really push for showering facilities in new toilets. It doesn't make sense not to if they're going to be brand new. I'm sure, Sean.
Yeah, I would definitely push for that. At the moment, it's still all up in the air. It's just waiting. It's been waiting since I've been in. But I would definitely, if we're having new toilets, again, that's if.
Oh.
I would, yeah, definitely, you know, push to have it all in one go. Definitely. And just while I'm on, over the reserves to Matt, sorry, the Wellbeing Future Act, the long term of that, the harbour, those reserves I would imagine would come under there, because it's a long term, the function harbour with good facilities. Well, if we haven't got a reserve on the harbour and something goes wrong, we can't do any long term for the future, especially with the oysters and everything else. So I would imagine, yeah, it's. not right.
While you're on that, can I ask Matt, what would you like this committee to do? Would you like us to contact the portfolio holder, the chief executive? Who?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think, the minutes are read by Cabinet, and if members were
Cabinet.
minded that, to say that they strongly feel that the Harbour should keep the reserve, which has been generated by revenue, from within the Harbour, it shouldn't be used to fund shortfalls in other services. That may be a resolution, please.
Well, I think that is a resolution I would like to see members approve of. So could I propose that as chair? I propose that what you've just said, which Jane will have taken, Sian will have taken down, that we do send to Cabinet and the chief exec, because if that jackadaw breaks down or we don't have facilities, I'm sure that the council who are already going to raid your budget, they won't come up with money for repairs, will they? So I feel quite strongly we need to protect those reserves for direct use for harbour facilities. So can I have a show of hands that we, oh, yes. I think we should do that. And a show of hands, please. Thank you. Yes, we'll definitely do that. There are a couple of points, Matt, from the minutes of the last meeting and the resolution. And one was on the safe disposal of flares that was brought up. Have you got any progress or any information?
Yeah, I did. I have made some information available to Roger, the berth holders who raised the point. Basically, to get a company in to remove the flares would cost many thousands of pounds, and basically it's not something that we as the Harbour have a budget for. So what is possible, and I have clarified this with the MCA, is that boat owners themselves are permitted to take the flare, any pyrotechnics, to the disposable contractors in Liverpool. They're the nearest ones, so they can put them in the boot of the car and they can take them there, and that's the most cost-effective solution.
Right. So I'm sure you're not happy with that, Roger, but thank you, Matt. And the other,
Who are the responsible contractors? Has Matt got an address or a phone number or is anything for them?
did you hear that question, Matt?
Yeah, sure. I can circulate that. Circulate that, sure.
Okay, Bryn. Roger.
So I believe it's Norwest Marine that do the life rafts maintenance, and also the marina in Pwllheli as well. I think will take them for a small charge. But yes, it's still a journey I wouldn't want to make with some explosives in the boot of the car.
Yeah, well, thank you. And the other agreement was that you approached the Conwy Town Council to fund sand on the quay.
Yes, I did do that, and in principle, well, I think it was going to be put to members, but I have raised that with them, and I think in principle they seem to be okay with that.
No,
but
I was there at the meeting. The funding was agreed, and for you to go ahead and get however much sand it was. I thought it might be there by now.
Yeah, we just need to clarify what the marine licensing situation is. So that's something that.
Just a quick question about sand on the quay. Are we talking about putting more sand there or taking sand away? Putting more sand there.
you know, just that little corner
Okay,
at the back of Bryn and Paracelsus
right.
for
Could
the
you just move
kids.
it from one side of the jetty to the other?
Yep.
This all comes under marine licensing as well. Moving of sand, believe it or not, like in West Shore, every year, the sand that gets blown onto the roads, onto just by the paddling pool, they're not allowed to put it back onto the beach. That has to be taken away and disposed of. So yeah, we'll definitely look into these two things, and yeah, we need to get that moving for the summer, really. Yeah.
Well, yes, because the town council must be at least a month or maybe more that they agreed to pay. So I'd like to see it on the key for the kids for the school holidays. So if that can be,
It must be a couple of months because it was
must be
before I was
a
ill. So
couple of months ago. So I'll leave that with you, Blethyn and Matt. Bryn.
Yeah, if I can, Joan, what Blethyn has just said actually it makes a lot of sense. You know, I've been pushing this for years and years and years. They're not actually allowed to take the windblown sand on the West Shore because that's what it's always been. 1 or 2 trucks of windblown sand from the West Shore, which they brought to Conwy, and they're not allowed to do that anymore. It's nonsensical, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure you'll find a way. We'd like a little bit of sand. Put it on the tray. Put it on the trailer, Blethyn. Don't tell anybody. Oops. Let the kids play on the trailer. Right. Right. I think that was that all your update, Matt?
Yes, Councillor Vaughan. Yep.
Are there, Roger?
Sorry, just one question. I wonder whether Matt could or Blethyn could update us on what's happening with Beacon's Jetty landing stage.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I'm really pleased to tell you tomorrow, all being well, by the end of the day, Beacon's Jetty will be back. It's had a lot of maintenance. It did have a hole. It's been painted multiple times. It's been completely shot blasted. So we hope we will get many years from this in time to come. It is a big undertaking doing something like that. It takes a lot of room in the car park, as everybody knows. But everything's gone to plan. And yes, by the end of the day tomorrow, all being well, it'll be back in service.
It's good news. Well, with that good news, if there are no more questions, any questions from those on Zoom? No. Well, thank you very much. Yes, sorry. Can I have a show of hands to note the report? Thank you very much. Lovely. Thank you. And thank you for proposing me to be your chair again. I will keep these meetings short. Thank you, Matt, and carry on with the good, important work you're doing.
Thank you. The tide's on the way in now, so I need to go make sure the watertight doors are back in. So
oh,
I shall
right.
leave you to it.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Chair.